Today we have one of my former excellent coaches. We have Carol Boston. She is an award winning speaker, best selling author, certified bank coach and trainer, and former professional tennis player, which I didn't know, Carol. Didn't know that about you. Okay, but we'll talk more about that. And she has over 26 years of sales leadership experience working with Fortune 100 companies. Known as the Queen of Reframe, Carol helps leaders, entrepreneurs, and sales professionals increase their influence, impact, and income through communication, mindset, and the power of bank. Carol, welcome to Lead Like You Mean It, people.
I'm excited to be here. Wow, that was a great introduction. Thank you.
Carol, before we get started, what is it with this professional tennis
I
player?
can't believe
I
you.
love tennis, never knew that.
I can't believe you didn't know. You knew I went to LSU. You know I'm an LSU Fighting Tiger.
Yeah.
Can you believe at my age I still have my cups? Um, Listen, I go to a friend's house to watch a football game and I bring my own cup and they go, Carol, we have cups in our house. I said, but you don't have an LSU cup. I did. Yes, I played collegiately. Then I played professionally until I had enough injuries that I just got. When we're going to talk today about leadership. Think about this. I was on the tour. I made enough money to pay my way because I didn't start playing until I was 15. Just being on the tour was a big deal because most people start when they're 5. And what I noticed is that I worked out hard. I ate healthy. I didn't party. I would go home and go to bed, get up the next day. But I watched these other, I call them girls because I'm so old now, but I watched these other girls and they would go to the parties and they would do their wild things and they never seemed to get injured. And every time I turned around, I was getting injured. And honestly, I had a breakdown in my leadership if you look at it like that, because I just became bitter. And after my last injury in 1985, I sold my rackets. I had custom made rackets from Wilson. And I had 4 little, I called them little old ladies. They're probably the same age I am now, right? But I was teaching them doubles. So I sold them my 4 rackets and I have never owned a racket again.
Wow. That's powerful. My
It's
goodness.
hard to go from playing at that level to playing for fun. I tried.
Uh-huh.
And when I first moved to Florida, I did a lot of teaching of tennis on the side, just to, I was just starting out in a very low end sales job. So I was just making money on the side. So whoever wanted me to teach them tennis, I just borrowed one of their rackets. Okay, I'll teach you.
That's incredible. That's something that I've never known about you. We've known each other for 2 years. That's incredible. Yeah, as I was reading the introduction, I was like, I can't believe it. She was a professional tennis player. So let's talk about leadership and sales since you mentioned about leadership. I have a question here. What's one communication mistake that instantly lowers someone's influence without them realizing it?
Not listening. Not listening. So often people, they're listening to react, right? They want to jump in and get their
Yeah.
side in. And I'll give you an example. There's a gentleman who's hired me to close sales for him. He had shared with me that he's really good at getting leads. He speaks on stages. He had gotten 35 leads, Carla. I said, great. He said, I had 35 phone calls. Yeah. He said, no sales. I'm like, what?
Wow.
35 and no sales. So I said, well, the first thing I want to do is learn about what you're selling. And then I want to get on a sales call with you to see what you do. Now, I'm all about that bank. Me
Yeah.
and Megan Trainer, right? She's all about the base. I'm all about the bank. And I had shared with him, we had cracked his code and everything. And this lady gets on the call. I guarantee you, she's an N first. She's a nurture. We can talk about that. But he's what? He's a KN.
Ooh.
He's a KN. He's knowledge first. And so he says hello to her. He says, did you book this call from when I spoke on so-and-so summit? And she said, yes. And he said, what made you book the call? And as she's talking, he sits up and he goes, well, our time's really limited, so let's get at it.
Oh, okay. Immediately.
That's exactly what she did, because nurturers, they want to know that they're more important than the money, than the sale, right?
Yes.
So I immediately watched her back up, and he was asking her some questions, and he would jump in and say, no. I'm a numbers guy. Give me numbers. Well, Carla, you and I know people starting out don't always know the numbers in their business. So now
Yeah.
she's feeling what? Flustered, maybe interrogated, maybe. I'm not sure. I was being
Mhm.
quiet because that was my role. But we get to the end of the call, and he wanted her to book a second call. He did not close the sale. He wanted her to book a second call, and she wanted to book it for the end of June. You know what he did? He's like, I'm not going to have time at the end of June. My calendar is going to be full. We have to do it in May.
Oh,
Now she's like scrambling. So I came on and I said, thank you so much for your time. I'm glad we got to know you a little bit better. May I give you a gift? And she said, what? I said, yeah, I'd like to get you to crack your code. I'm going to send you a gift, prepaid for $99, no cost to you. And it's going to be all about you and how you show up to every sales conversation.
mhm.
What do you think she did? Oh, she leans in. I would love to have a gift.
Yeah.
Folks, the power of knowing someone's code is incredible in conversations.
Yeah. And also, your tone was a part of it too. Your
Yes.
tone, because you knew how to speak with her. And as you mentioned earlier, just about listening, you were able to listen, but you were able to listen through Bank, through her posture, through her tone. And then also, you listened to how he was totally opposite of what she needed.
Yes.
It is
Totally.
powerful. So, share with everyone about the four codes with Bank and how they've helped you with your sales.
Oh, fantastic. Yes. I think I've shared that with you, Carla, that if I'd have had this when I was in corporate America, you and I might have never met. I'd probably be retired, right? That would be a shame, though, in some ways.
I
But
know.
I did well in corporate America, but with this, I would have done even better and I would have done it faster and easier.
Mhm.
So, what Bank allows you to do, it's the only scientifically validated tool in the world that has 2 patents that allows you to know somebody's buying language, their buying values in less than 90 seconds. Unheard of when you compare it to any other personality
Yeah,
on the market, right?
yeah.
Most people are familiar with DISC and Myers Briggs and
Mhm.
Enneagram and what color's your parachute, and those take you an hour and 30 minutes to fill out, and they charge you $197. And this one you can do in 90 seconds. And when you're able to do that and then speak into that language, we can help you increase your sales up to 300%. How's that even possible?
Mm.
Because the Challey Group did a study and they found that 82% of all people only buy something from someone with their same dominant code.
Mm.
That means if you don't know how to speak to the other 3 codes, and folks, we all have all 4 codes in us, it's coded in our DNA. If you don't know how to speak to the other 3, you're leaving 300% on the table for your competition. So,
Mhm.
just one example was when I was a business coach in somebody else's high end mastermind, a young lady, she was probably in her 30s, 35 maybe. She gets on a call with me, and if you look at the screen, you see my code. My code is BNKA. A is my last code, and A was her first code. So, like you said, I listened to this lady who was a high nurture, and I knew how to show up in my tone of voice and what to say.
Right.
With this young lady, I started off very differently because her code's different. So we said hello and blah, blah, blah. And I went, we're going to have so much fun together today. She went, Coach Carol, that's why I'm here. I want to have, she almost came out of her chair. Listen, if I hadn't been bankified, educated in bank, I would have never known to do that. We had instant rapport and instant connection. I
Yeah. I
didn't
know
take
the person wasn't me. However, I am an A. As soon as you did that, I'm like, yeah.
I love working with A's. A's and B's are polar opposites, right?
Yeah.
And people say to me, well, you like working with A's? I'm like, yeah. When A's trust you, they don't ask a lot of questions. Get to the bottom line, give them the details, tell them what to do, and they go do it and they get immediate results,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
And Michelle, my mentor in bank, pointed out there was a gentleman on a call one day, Carla. I don't know if you ever met this gentleman. His name's Jim Packard. What a great guy. And he was telling the whole group that was on this call, he goes, the first time I met Carol, I heard her speak on this other lady. It was on Lynn's stage for 5 minutes. And I thought, I got to book a call with her. He said, so we booked the call and I get on and I look at the screen and I see her code. And he said, she can't possibly be an A last. He's a high A. She
Mhm.
can't possibly be an A last, not how she showed up. And Michelle leans in and she says, Carol knows how to show up in A, right?
Wow.
That's the power of knowing bank. I don't change who I am, but I get to meet you where you're at.
Yeah, yeah. So how does that relate to, let's give a setting here. We're in corporate America. Oh, let's, instead of corporate America, let's have it in a setting where most people go to. Let's say it's a salon.
Okay.
We have a particular manager, and we have maybe two or three employees, all
Okay.
different codes. Okay. And at the same time, they now have five customers sitting in the reception area waiting and looking at their clock. But I'm a K, and I'm the manager with these three employees who are totally different, and everybody
Mm.
is sweating bullets. What do you recommend for me as someone who's a knowledge person, and I'm just focused, and I know exactly what to do, and everybody else doesn't?
Oh, boy, did you nail that knowledge person. But folks, for those of you who don't know bank, knowledge people, listen to what she said. She said, I know exactly what to do. Knowledge people are never wrong, right? They're the smartest people in the room all the time. I can't tell you how often I will look at a dominant K and I'll say, I bet you've sat in a room before and looked around and thought, everybody here's so stupid. They crack up every time. And I said, I know because you've done it, right? So the first thing I would tell you is that the dominant K, they come from a place of logic. They're big picture thinkers. So the people out in the waiting room that are getting antsy and their emotions are going up, the K is actually going to shut down and back up because they don't like emotions, because they believe emotions cloud logic. The first things I would tell that K obviously to do is to know the codes of his workers so that he understands how to speak to them. If he's trying to motivate them to go faster, talk less, don't take so long to dye the hair, whatever he's trying to get them to do in the salon, right? He gets to speak to them in their language, or he's going to come up with what? Resistance.
Yes.
People are just going to back up and like, who are you? The people in the waiting room, if he knew speed coding, which we also teach and train, which allows you to look at how someone's dressed, the words that they use, you learn how to ask them specific questions to ascertain what their dominant code is, because that's the code they're going to buy from. And when we talk about buy, could I reframe that for us real quick? Because you don't have to be just selling a product. Leadership is influence.
Yes.
Sales is influence. So often people, in my experience, Carla, have this very negative idea of sales. I work with a lot of nurturing clients, and the nurturer really, really, really wants to help people, but they just don't want to ask for money, right? So we get to work on that and reframe what it means to ask, to know your value and advocate for it, and how when your bank account grows, we call it expansion. And the more expansion you have, guess what? The more people you've helped.
Yeah.
So in this salon scenario, bringing bank in there to train them and teach them on bank would be so effective. If Mr. K knew anything about bank, he would know how to go out and speak in each code, because he doesn't know the codes of the people in the room.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just went through level 5 certification on power scripting. Absolutely fascinating. We wrote on the cuff. We had to write 1-minute scripts and give them in each code.
Cool. Wow, that's heavy.
It really was just a powerful, powerful course. As a matter of fact, this morning, back and forth with Michelle in a text, and she said, it's the decoder. My decoder was in a loop. Carla, it didn't matter what I put in it. It said everything. Everything was BNAK. Everything was BN. I'm like, Michelle goes, it's your decoder. Anyway, long story short. But, you know, when we know what that is, and Michelle goes, just use your power scripting skills. That's why you took the course. And so I did. And I crafted an email to this client in KNAB. And I sent it to Michelle. Michelle says, good job. I was like, awesome. Because it allows us to do things on the fly.
Uh-huh.
Like one of the things I aspire to, Sherry Tree, our creator and founder, who created this more than almost 25 years ago, tells a story. She was on stage in Las Vegas, big audience, had just put on the headset microphone. It was her turn to go on stage. Now, Sherry is an ANKB, ANKB, high action, yes? This guy comes up and basically rips off the headset and
Huh.
said, it's my turn. And he put it on and literally walked out on the stage. Now, she's in a bit of a shock, but what he doesn't know is that she has people in the audience. And what do you think she starts doing to her team? She starts texting them. Tell me what code he's speaking in. Tell me how the audience is responding. This guy went out there and he was an AK-47
Wow.
the entire time. Sherry, because she's so good and why I wanted to learn power scripting and communication mastery, is that the feedback she got from them, she was able to walk on stage and she showed up as a nurturer, not an action. She didn't show up in her high action because that's what he had done. And at the end, because she was able to do it on the fly, at the end of her talk, almost everybody in the room went to the back table to sign up with her. Not one person had signed up for the other guy.
Wow. Wow.
So to be able to do that on the fly effectively.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things bank also does, Carla, and I experienced it this past week. I've been having massive challenges with my car and the car guy. And on Wednesday, he sends me this text. And I get on my meeting with Michelle and I said, I can't respond to him. I said, my emotional intelligence is out the window. Like, I cannot talk to him. The next morning, I didn't even respond the whole day. The next morning, I'm on a coaching call with his wife. And he heard my voice. He was in the background and he said, ask Carol if she got my text.
Yeah.
And I said, I heard you, Reggie. I got your text. You and I get to have a phone call, right? But I knew enough to give myself that time so that I could have a conversation. When you look at people's codes, when I first took my car to him last September, he's a high action. I'm a high blueprint. We're polar opposites, right? Blueprints are budget minded. Actions like image. So there's Mr. Reggie, good looking man, right? Good looking guy from Haiti. And he's got on these thick gold rimmed sunglasses. He's taller than me. And we're walking around the car to see what he thought I wanted him to do to my car. And he looks down and he says, oh yeah, we got to do those rims. My blueprint immediately says, what's wrong with the rims? They work just fine. He stops, he turns his head like this, Carl, and he goes, you want them to look good, don't you?
My kind of man.
You want it to look good. I mean, and because of that, he even did things that I didn't ask him to do. Like my car has these like blue pinstripes down the side. Well, my car's old. On one side, they were totally missing. Guess what he did? He painted them back in.
Yeah.
So it looked good. Yeah. So I don't know if that answered your question about the salon, but when you're able to, in your business, decode your employees, number one, you get to put them in the correct job for them. After I learned bank, I realized many years ago, I'd gotten out of telecommunications and decided I would become an independent agent. And I was hired by a lady out of Atlanta. And what she told me the job was going to be turned out not to be at all what the job was. Now, you know me and you know my code. She told me I was going to be working with clients, prospective clients in sales, doing bum, bum, bum. That's me. I love people. I was sitting in my house with two massive computer screens going through line after line of Excel workbook. I didn't last 3 months. I'm like, I can't do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So there's a job for everybody. Mamie tells a story. She's a consultant. She's been a trainer with bank for more than 16 years, one of the longest trainers we've had. And the company called her up and said, we're going to lay off all these people. She goes, no, yeah, don't lay anybody off. I'm coming in. So she goes in, she decodes, learns the code of all the employees that they wanted to lay off. Then she uses our AI technology and she decodes their job descriptions and she decoded their job ads that they were putting out on Indeed.com and these other sites. Well, the reason these people weren't happy is because the code that the job required was not the one that they were advertising.
Oh my gosh, Carol. So I'll let you continue this story in a couple of seconds.
Okay.
That is massive when it comes to hiring personnel, a lot of times we hire the wrong person for the wrong position. So,
Yes.
as you mentioned, a nurturer, they could be in something that a position, oh, yeah, they have the credentials, but they could be in a position where this person sits in the office by themselves and all they're doing is looking at spreadsheets. They don't have any communication with anyone. They don't know what's the mission because I want to be able to serve the mission. They don't know the mission of the organization. You just sit there in the corner in your own little cubicle by yourself and make sure that you provide us with information at the end of the week. That is a mismatch of personnel and a waste of, I was going to say, I was a federal employee, waste of federal dollars, but a waste of the companies, the organizations, um, investment in her. If we had something, if we had bank to be able to say, hey, we need to match the best person with the best position, it would totally change the compass of an organization. Okay, I just had to say that because it's just so important. So I'll let you get back to your
Well,
story.
it's totally true, and it's a powerful, powerful story. Um, I agree with you completely. You know, Sherry Tree, our founder, asked the question, do you think it's possible for one idea to change the world? And I do, because I believe that if we cracked 8 billion codes, that's our mission, and we cracked 8 billion codes and taught people how to speak into the other person's language, we wouldn't be having all these wars and all these fights and killings and, people getting angry in the street and shooting each other. We could have a completely different world. That's my personal belief and personal opinion. But what happened in Mamie's particular instance is they only laid off 2 people, and the cost of laying off and rehiring.
Oh, yes.
So they moved 18 people into new jobs. Those people are now happy they're in the right jobs. Then they rewrote the job description. So now that when they hire in, they're hiring in accurately. I was
Yeah.
at a leadership conference in Orlando a couple of years ago, and they had a big event the night before, awards ceremony, opening night, open buffet and bar. I literally had one drink, no food, and I cracked codes for 2.5 hours, because once you start cracking codes, everybody wants to crack the code.
Mhm.
So I'm sitting at this table, and I had cracked these 4 employees' codes. They all worked for a nonprofit. And their boss starts to walk up, and they nudged me. We want to know what her code is. Crack her code. She's the CEO. I said, okay. So she comes up, and I hand her the cards, and I give her the script, and she looks at them, and she lays them down on the table, and their jaws all went. We all have the same first code. Now, very common in nonprofits, right, to have a lot of high nurturers. They all
Yeah,
were
yeah.
dominant in. So she looks at me. She goes, that's a great thing. That's why we all get along. I said, it's not necessarily a great thing for business. It might be great to get along. And she said, what do you mean? I said, well, I'm a high nurturer too. My first 2 codes are the exact same number. I don't want to write your standard operating procedures. I said, I don't want to keep you in compliance. Don't you dare put me in a room with 2 computers and have me analyze data. I'll
Mhm.
quit. And she looked at me like she would in shock. And I
Yeah.
said, and she said, do you teach this to companies? I said, absolutely. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah. Because, I am a board member on a mission organization, and I primarily work with the co-leader, and
Mm.
she's a huge nurturer, just like you said. But I'm an action person. I'm action, but I'm also high nurturer. But the action in business tends to take over more. So we had an instance where some people didn't want to show up for a particular event because there was a cost associated with it. And she said, "Oh, do you think we should reduce the cost?" I said, "No, because we need to be fair to everyone. We said this is the particular cost and this is what we need to go with." But I could hear the tone. The tone was action. No, 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 no. But yet her tone was very, kind, wanted to be able to take care of everyone. And I have to remember that even though someone's a nurturer, it is a good balance for both. It is a good balance. Someone can come in and say, no, where the other person is leaning towards, well, let's adjust for the particular person. But then I've got to be able to reverse it and say, at certain times I need to be that nurturer and say, you know what? I agree. Because we are in service, this nonprofit. But it's great to know the personalities up front because it just helps to be able to to move. I'm always going to say mission. It helps to move the mission forward, and it builds relationships. That's another thing I've learned about it as well. It builds relationships. It helps you to close your mouth at times to say that person needs to take the lead because it's best for the particular relationship, whether it's a friendship, working relationship, or anything. So yeah, I
And
appreciate
when you're looking at your nonprofit work, I want you to think about this, Carla. If you know who's in your constituency and who you're inviting into a fundraising event, let's say that there's a lot of action people in your constituency that have been donating, then the kind of party you want to throw, the kind of fundraiser, you want to have a casino party. A's love competition. A's love to win. A's love to be the center of attention. They want high action. Now, what you would observe if the majority were A's is you're going to have your people sitting over on the sides. Guess who they're going to be? They're going to be the K's. And you know what they're going to be doing? This is so stupid. Right? This is so stupid because it's illogical to them. And you learn that it's not personal, it's personality. But when you can use bank, you can use it effectively in your marketing, right? Our AI, whose name is Kai, just won an award for Innovator of the Year award last year in California. But Kai is the only one that knows how to speak and read and write in all 4 codes and all 24 combinations. So you could literally create 5 different marketing pieces with our AI, one to speak to each code, and then one to speak across the board evenly to all 4 codes. And then you can track your data and know who's in the room.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you, we're close to the end. I have one more question.
Oh, we can't stop yet. We're having too much fun.
I know. I'm just sitting here. I can continue on. That's the reason why coaching sessions were long, because I had too much of a good time. Okay, what advice would you give someone who feels uncomfortable promoting themselves or speaking confidently about what they do?
That they get to know their value, own their power, and advocate for themselves so they can rise up and become the lion and lioness leaders they were truly created to be, so they can have the impact that they were put here for. So oftentimes that comes from mindset, and it also comes from personality. Your dominant nurturers are not, they are just, it's a rarity for them to step up and say, I'm worth $10,000 investment, or I'm worth $20,000 investment, or I deserve that $50,000 raise in the company. Part of it is personality, but part of it's conditioning. I find that so many people, I had to go through this back in 2016. In 2016, I learned by being in a millionaire mindset mastermind, very first mastermind I ever attended 10 years ago, that 10 years prior to that, I had self-sabotaged my first opportunity to be a millionaire.
Wow.
I walked into the bank one day. My little friend Chan was there, Chinese Chan. She was adorable. And she said, "There's Carol Boston. She's our next millionaire." And I immediately said, "Oh no, I'm not a millionaire." I didn't even think about it, Carla. It was so automatic. That afternoon, I used to collect wine, and I went to ABC Liquors where I had a vault. And the master sommelier there, the wine guy, his name was Fred. So he called me Niece Carol, and I called him Uncle Fred. We were friends. So we go into the vault, and I'm getting some wine bottles for a dinner party that night. And there's another gentleman getting wine out of his vault. And Uncle Fred says, "What? You got to come meet my niece Carol. She's going to be our next millionaire." This all happened in 2 days.
Wow.
And I said, I'm not a millionaire. And I didn't learn until 10 years later what caused me to self-sabotage was I had old subconscious files running in my head from my parents, mainly, more so my dad. He was a little bit more outspoken than my mother. Nobody needs that much money. Anybody who has that much money is greedy. You can't be a Christian and have that much money. Well, goodness knows I'm a Christian, and I didn't want to be seen as greedy. So just like I help my clients overcome that mindset, I did the work myself.
Yeah.
So when people are also scared to step up, because if I let them know how good I am, I might get more accountability and more responsibility. When I was in corporate America, did I lead in sales? Absolutely. But Carla, I was a leader from the back of the room. I did not want to be on stage. I'll be your biggest cheerleader. One time they put a new girl across the aisle from me, the cubicle, And normally they don't bring in anybody new when the boss is out. Our boss was out on maternity leave. This is when I worked for Paychecks. And so they bring in somebody new because she had payroll experience, and they set her across from me. Nobody said, Carol, be her coach. Carol, be her mentor. I told you my nurture's high too. So I took this young lady under my wing. She sold more revenue that year than I did.
Wow. Wow.
Maybe that's when I first learned I'm a pretty good coach.
Yeah. Well, how did that make you feel though?
That didn't bother me at all.
Okay.
She walked across the stage. I didn't even want to walk across the stage. My last boss in corporate America, she was one of the best at meeting everybody where they were at. So she had us fill out a survey questionnaire when she first started. And then we had individual meetings, and she calls me in her office and she looks at my survey and she said, you don't want to go to conference? You don't like going to Hawaii? You don't like going to the Bahamas? Now, not knowing anything about codes, I said, I don't like going somewhere and being around hundreds of people who are doing things they wouldn't normally do at home. People are doing what? Called them breaking the rules.
Yeah.
Getting drunk, having affairs, doing all kind of things that they wouldn't necessarily normally be doing at home. I said, I would be so happy if you would let me stay here. And back in those days with Paychecks, you either had to be dead or dying and have a doctor's note to not go to conference. If you qualified, you had to go.
Yeah.
I said, give me half the money that you would spend on me, and I'll stay here and manage everybody's territory. Now, it was the first time in 6 years at Paychecks, even though I qualified every year but my first year, it was the first time I didn't have to go to conference.
Wow.
She saw to it that I didn't have. Now, they didn't give me any money, but that was okay. I didn't have to go.
Yeah. That was a good leader. That was a good leader. Yeah, because essentially she served you. She took care of you. Yes, and like you said, she was good at meeting you where everyone was. So that was a good leader.
I agree.
That was pretty powerful. Yeah. Carol, I think we're at the end, but we shouldn't end.
I agree.
Okay, Carol, so I thank you, but I want you to leave everyone with something that's meaningful to you. How it aligns with bank and sales. So give us a way to just close out.
Nelson Mandela said that when you speak to them in a language they understand, they hear you with their head. But when you speak to them in their language, they hear you with their heart. And that is exactly what I teach you how to do with bank.
All right. Contact Miss Carol Boston. Connie will have the information in the comments. Miss Carol, I thank you.
Thank you. I had fun.
Thank you so much. I appreciate everything that you've shared with us, everything you've taught us. And again, if you guys would like to reach out to Carol Boston and learn all about bank, blueprint, nurturer, knowledge, and action, I'm an action person.
Yes, you are.
Miss Carol will be there for you. And let's give a shout out to your mentor, Michelle, as well. She's a fantastic lady.
Michelle is awesome. She's been doing it about 9 years. I don't know if you know this, but she was promoted to National Field Sales Director.
Congratulations. Hey, let's give a shout out to Michelle again. Congratulations, Michelle. Thank you all. We'll see you in a couple of weeks on Lead Like You Mean It, people. And have a great day. All right, we're out, folks.